bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah. Today is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. 259 days into the new year, only 116 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. That's right, a total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Ray Hobbs. Tonight, oh yeah, man. Tonight, very special guest. Richard Dolan joins us. That's right. Joins us for the Wilson Doc. The Final Cut. Yeah. It's my narrator voice. It's my Robert Clotworthy. Man, I got to get Robert back on the show. That man is legend. Legend. The Final Cut. The Wilson Doc is back after 5 years, and it's pissed off. That's right. It's the Final Cut. Yeah. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. And I'm in a great mood. Had a great day. More on that in just a bit. Looking forward to that, aren't you? That's right. That's why you're here. You're not here for Dolan. You're here for my 15 minutes of just blasting. Yeah. That's why you're here. You dial out after that first 15 minutes. I know you do. I know. After that, it's just into the chat, the sandbox, hanging out with everybody, drinking, smoking weed. I know what you guys do. I literally popped into the chat room before. And what's the comment I got to make? Put the pipe down. And I know what's going on. Send. I know what you guys are doing. I know this. It's cool. It's cool. I would if I could. Oh, man. Fade to Black blend. Oh, my God. Oh. You know what's funny? When I'm watching some... Oh, by the way, I am on the 30 Rock binge right now I'm in season 4. I have no idea what's going on television right now. I have lost touch with reality. I'm all about Liz Lemon. Oh my God. I can't stop. I cannot stop. I can't control myself. I don't know what's going on with Rick and Morty. I don't know what's going on with Ted Lasso. By the way, Ted Lasso is in 30 Rock, which was kind of weird. So I got that Ted Lasso fix going on. Anyway, man, 30 Rock. Okay, all right. Don't get me started on that. Do not get me started. Tomorrow night is Fader Night with open lines all night long. That's going to wrap up our week. And immediately after the show tomorrow night, the Jeep, the Fade to Black Jeep with its black Fade to Black license plates. If you're ever wandering around Los Angeles and you see a black 4-door Wrangler, raised up with the big tires on it and all that stuff going on, just take a look and see if that black license plate is there. F to Black. That's what it says. F2 Black. That's the license plate. Yeah. Had a weird thing going on. I'm not too sure what was happening, but I was on the 5 freeway, and this is last week, and just doing my thing, just tooling down, and I was going to the movie premiere. It was on Saturday, and so I'm driving on my way to Pasadena, and this car pulls up next to me. And it's a lady driving. I didn't and there was the opposite sex in the passenger seat. That's okay. So that's going. Honked and waved, and I was like, "What? That was kind of weird." And they just kept driving, and I didn't think anything about it. Nothing happened. Nothing. I didn't bump into these people later. They didn't find. But it was just weird. It's just weird. I didn't recognize them. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. Was that you? I'm just saying, was that you? Yeah, it was pretty weird. And they kept going. I went the opposite way to Pasadena. And they went straight. And so I don't know. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. Okay, where am I at? Oh, so tomorrow night after the show, packing up the Fade to Black Jeep, heading down to the LAX Hilton for the Conscious Life Expo. I will be hosting it all weekend long. It's going to be great. And I'm just going to say it out loud. I got a text right before the show tonight, Carrie from Palm Springs. I'm going to be there Saturday. I'm going to come and watch your interview. And so that's cool. Carrie's going to be there. And I hit her back and I said, that's awesome. Afterwards, let's go grab a drink and some food in the lounge. There's going to be other Fadernauts there. That's what we do every night at the Conscious Life Expo. We get together in the lounge. So I will see all of you there. But Carrie from Palm Springs is going to be there. It's going to be cool. She's a bright ray of sunshine. She is all right. So September 17th through the 19th, LAX Hilton. Wow. And I'm hosting all weekend. I'm doing the UFO side of things. Dr. Sarah Larson is hosting the consciousness side of things. It's two different genres, and that's how they do it there. So I'll be doing the tinfoil hat side, my side, and Dr. Sarah Larson co-hosting with me. It's going to be great. So anyway, it's going on all weekend long. Get your tickets and info, consciouslifeexpo.com, promo code Jimmy. Let's get straight to it. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The hashtag is F2B right there on Twitter for the Sandbox. Come and hang out with us. And there you go. Okay, all right. Breaking news. History has been made as inspiration for the first ever orbital flight crewed entirely by tourists. Yeah, launched today, this afternoon, this evening from the East Coast, from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. The 4 passengers on board will spend 3 days on board their 13-foot wide Crew Dragon capsule. Sounds big, it's tight. Free flying through orbit at a 350-mile altitude, 100 miles outside, higher than the International Space Station. And the crew is expected to return to Earth this Saturday. And I don't know if you've seen the documentary. I think it's on Netflix, Amazon, one of the two. Inspiration for, I think there's 4 episodes out. I watched them all. But there's a meeting that they have. They're like, hey, let's go further than the ISS. And it was really fun. I don't know, man. There's money, there's things and logistics and, and the engineer. But it was right there. It went down in the meeting. And, but yeah, so yeah, I guess it was determined they were going to do an extra 100 miles outside of where the International Space Station is orbiting. All right. Tech pioneer, also talking about billionaires in space. Tech pioneer Steve Wozniak's not quite a billionaire because of what Steve Jobs did to him, but he's still pretty rich. I think he's worth a few $100 million. Should be, 20 or 30 billion dollars. But anyway, Steve Wozniak has become the latest newcomer to join the private space business. But unlike Bezos and Musk, whose Blue Origin and SpaceX companies plan to set up cities on Mars or build colonies in Earth's orbit, Wozniak's privateer, that's what it's called, appears to be focused on cleaning up space trash. A recent press release described Privateer as, quote, a new satellite company focused on monitoring and cleaning up objects in space, end quote. Pretty cool. Announced today, country music star Reba McEntire and 7 others were rescued. That's right. From the second story of a building after a stairwell collapsed. McEntire was touring the historic building with a small group in Atoka, Oklahoma. One person on that tour sustained minor injuries. You should see it right there. Window, fire department, ladder. There's Reba. Second floor. She could have jumped. All right. Now, I don't do politics on this show. I do not. But I do live in California, where yesterday, Governor Gavin Newsom survived his recall with over 2/3 of the vote, which actually means it was a colossal waste of time and money to the tune of probably $500 million. Republican Party spent $200 million on Larry Elder. Larry Elder ran for, did this campaign. Larry Elder, who I am like 10 spaces above his radio show rankings. I said it. $200 million from the Republic. Why? Because he didn't wear a face mask in a fancy French restaurant. That was a mistake, by the way. That was pure stupidity. But anyway, I don't do politics. I could really give a crap. But $500 million, man, with the world today. What a waste of time and money. Okay. All right. A 900-year-old cosmic mystery surrounding the origins of a supernova first spotted over China in the year 1181 has finally been solved. A faint, fast expanding nebula called P830 has been identified as the source of the 12th century explosion, which Chinese and Japanese astronomers said was as bright as the planet Saturn and remained visible for 6 months. Experts have said that P830, which surrounds Parker's star, was one of the hottest stars in the Milky Way, fits the profile, location, and age of the historic supernova. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Tom Hardy. One of my favorites. One of the best. Rock and roller. Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. Right? Tom Hardy today is 44. What was his name? Handsome Bob. Tom Hardy. Tommy Lee Jones today is 75. Men in Black. I'm just going right there. Night Ranger drummer Kelly Kagi today is 69. Not only the drummer, he sang lead vocals on several of their biggest hits, such as Sister Christian, that was Kelly. Sing Me Away, that was Kelly. And Sentimental Street, that was Kelly. Wore the Gloves, remember that? Yeah, he was good. Warrant bassist Jerry Dixon today is just 54 years old. I guess he was the baby of the band. Our dead guy's birthday today is, I need a moment of silence, please, Lee Dorman. Lee Dorman, 1942 to 2012, died at the age of 70. Lee was the bass player for Iron Butterfly. And yes, it was his bass in the rock anthem, the 17-minute long Inagata da Vida. Inagata da Vida, that LP topped the Billboard albums charts. It sold more than 8 million copies within its first year of release. Think about that. Back then, huge. Outselling every record in the history of recorded music to that time, and achieved worldwide sales of over 30 million copies. Shortly after his first departure from Iron Butterfly, he was in the band till his death. In 1971, Lee co-founded the great and amazing band Captain Beyond. It was a great band, with ex-Deep Purple lead vocalist Rod Evans. Lee died of natural causes in his car in Laguna Niguel, California on December 21st, 2012. And Lee was a really close friend of mine. I knew him really well. He managed a band that I produced, a really close friends of mine, Hans Naughty, and we remained friends for years. And I had a lot of great times and great conversations with Lee Dorman. He taught me a lot. Happy birthday, Lee. I hope you're up there listening to me right now, my friend. On this day in history, OTD, 1954. That famous picture of Marilyn Monroe laughing as her skirt is blown up by a blast from a subway vent is shot during the filming of The 7-Year Itch on this day in 1954. Fader fact, 57% of all drivers in the United States admit they don't use turn signals. The reason is they don't have enough time. Yeah, I always use my turn signals. I always do. I'm like neurotic with it. It's like some kind of weird OCD, but I use my turn signals for everything. I just do. Man, I'm just like some old dude, you know. And when I'm a passenger in a car, which isn't often, but when I am, and somebody's changing lanes or turning and doing things without turns, I just freak, man. I just like, man, I got to get out of this car. All right. Tonight, Richard Dolan joins us. We are going to do the Wilson Doc all evening tonight. I'm calling this show The Final Cut. That's right. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long, and I'm looking forward to that. And right now, I got to hit this River Moon Coffee special cup today, man. Just extra special, extra good. Sometimes I'm going to let a secret out. I use Dunkin' Donuts extra creamy, real sugar stuff. What do you call that? Coffee creamer. The Dunkin' Donuts. It's real cream, it's real sugar, and it's really good. I don't use any of that other International Delight, this and that, Belgian chocolate, caramel, salted, pumpkin. No, I don't do none of that. None of that. No, I don't do that. But that Dunkin' Donuts, extra creamy, real cream, real sugar. That's the name of it, by the way. It's Dunkin' Donuts, and it just says real cream, real sugar. That's it. Man, it's really good. Really good. Okay. All right. Let me hit this again. Oh, but I didn't do that today. Today is half and half. Yes. Sometimes I just do a black, by the way, because I like my coffee dark. Sometimes I do. I go black. Okay. Man, I got a lot to say. Let me get to this. Today was a very visual day. A lot to take in. It all started off with a trip to the DMV. Everybody's favorite thing to do, by the way. But that's not the point. But I did get my new tags. I didn't go to the DMV for tags. By the way, I didn't want to wait on the mail. And hey, everybody wants to hang out at the DMV once in a while. But I had to go because you have to be there in person to get the new real ID. Got to do that in person. You got to bring in your docs, and they scan them, and they do. And I thought, well, hey, while I'm here, just get my tag. So I did that. Anyway, while I was there waiting, I watched the new Matrix Resurrections trailer on my phone. And yeah, I'm a big Matrix guy. We all are. And maybe I was expecting too much, but I got to say, it wasn't all that. So when I got back to the bunker, I dialed it up on the big monitors here and to make sure I wasn't imagining things. But no, nothing changed for me. And here's the deal. It feels like stuff we've already seen before. And I just don't know how else to put it. And maybe it was the trailer. I get that, showing certain elements of the film for effect. Things that we're all familiar with from the past films, but I don't know. It's like they just reshot it, and I mean, they had the karate scene, they had the blue pill, and Morpheus is not in the film now. They got a young look-alike Morpheus thing, and the I don't know. I just didn't get excited, so we're gonna have to wait until December 22nd to check this out. And, I know we're all going to watch the film, but hopefully it's not going to be like Coming to America, Part 2. You know what I mean, okay? But anyway, back to today's visuals. So I watched all of the SpaceX live stream, all 3 or 4 hours. And finally, with 1 minute left in the countdown, you wait all that time, you wait, and 1 minute left, and here we go. Eric, the Awakening Man, calls. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But I got to pick it up. It's Eric. So I did. Didn't talk to him, man. I just put him on speaker. I cranked up the volume and did the countdown. Now, here's the deal. The launch today was pretty powerful. First off, it's at night, so you got that part dialed. Looked pretty cool. And for the first time, like in EVA, we got 4 civilians, private citizens, launching into space for fun. Orbiting our planet, orbiting Earth for the next 3 days because they can. Wow, huge day for the history books. And an Awakening Man just had to call at that moment, but I kid. Anyway, totally mind-blowing, exciting, and a historic moment in time. It was truly amazing. I don't think I'll ever get tired of watching the first stage return to Earth. That is just, and in my excitement, the visuals, all of that, it's just all so awesome. But, and yeah, there's always a but, after about 11 minutes, the feed cut off. Still not sure why, but I wanted to see the observation dome. I want to see that. I wanted to see the crew unbuckle. I wanted to see some real action, and we got nothing. I went to all of the live feeds all around the net, different sites, YouTube, NASA's YouTube, and, well, nothing. No biggie. I get it, but this is where my mind kind of wandered, and the strange thoughts started to bubble up and come to the surface. And although I've mentioned this before, today it was really out front, and that is the inside of the Crew Dragon capsule is empty. There's nothing there, right? It's just a little too clean. And those black rubber fisherman's boots, what's up with that? In a real emergency, they ain't doing squat, But here's the real question. What do you do in that little space, that 13-foot wide Crew Dragon with 3 other friends for 3 days? Now, I know you've got a monitor in front of your face and it's a touch screen and it's pretty cool and you get to do stuff, but can you play like Red Redemption on that? Redemption Red, whatever that game is called. Can you play that? You got video games? You got something? Seriously. 3 days with white walls. It's just too clean in there. Look, I'd take it for a ride for sure. It would be great for about 5 or 6 orbits. Then you're like, what's next? What do we do? And now I'm sure after about 7 hours of, you get the idea. But after 7 hours, I'd be thinking to myself, we're going to do this, exactly this, for the next 3 days? For 72 hours? I'd lose my mind. Anyway, this is what happens to me if you cut off the video live stream for no reason. Thanks, Mr. Musk. But then I got my answer. I found out today that SpaceX's first civilian crew will have zip ties and sedatives on board in case someone becomes a danger. That's right. 3 days with nothing to do may be too much for one of them to handle, and I get it. You see, Elon knows things. He really does. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight on this program, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. He's joining us for the Wilson doc, The Final Cut. Tomorrow night, right here, Fader Night, open lines all night long. That's right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hello to everybody watching all around the world. What is up? Come and hang out with us. Real-time chat all night long on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. GetTheTea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. All right. Here we go. Now, I do want to remind everybody what's going on this week. Tonight, Richard Dolan is here. Tomorrow night is Fader night with open lines all night long. And immediately after the show tomorrow night, I'm going to jump in the car, the Jeep, and head down to LAX for the Conscious Life Expo. I'll be hosting that all weekend. I'll be doing some live streaming. Of course, I'll be on the air with them, but I'm going to be hanging out with all of you Fadernauts down there. It's going to be great. And one of my favorite things to do is to go down to the lounge each night and hang out with Richard Dolan. Oh, wait, you're not going to be there. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to go down to the lounge at all, ever, because Richard is not going to be there. Tonight, our guest is Richard Dolan. And tonight, I have framed this show. I've called it the Wilson Doc, The Final Cut. And now, before I get into Richard's 5-page CV and bio, tonight I have chosen to, Richard and I have not discussed this at length, but I'm gonna stay on the other side of the fence. There's a lot of stuff about the Wilson Doc that I have questioned over the years, and I've certainly brought this up on the show and spoke to Richard about this in the past. But tonight, we're going to do everything about it. We're going to talk about its history, where it came from. We're going to talk about the content in that doc, but we're also going to talk about the controversies surrounding it and some of the things that have come to light of late. And just to give everybody a little heads up, I called up Richard and I said, "Hey, man, I've got point A, point B, point C, point D, and you know what? Let's just do a show about it. Let's not talk about it now. We'll discuss it later on in the week." And he said, "Church, let's go. Let's put the gloves on." I said, "Okay, all right, let's do it." And then we segued. Richard, we segued into, MJ-12, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. One night we've got to do a show on that.
One controversy at a time.
Yeah, one controversy at a time. Richard is one of the world's leading researchers and writers on the subject of UFOs, and he believes that they do constitute the greatest mystery of our time. Of course, he completed all of his graduate work at the University of Rochester, where he studied U.S. Cold War strategy, European history, and international diplomacy. That's what you go to school for. I would have done the same thing. He also studied at Alfred University and Oxford University. He's the author of many books, and he's a publisher and all of that stuff, UFOs and the National Security State, co-authored with Bryce Zabel, AD After Disclosure, and his latest book, UFOs and the 21st Century Mind. And now wait. No, he's done a couple of little books, but those are.
I did the Alien Agendas last year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That wasn't a booklet. You're right. That wasn't a pamphlet. and of course he's live on YouTube every week with the Richard Dolan Show. And I encourage everybody to go and visit richarddolanmembers.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And now let's get straight to it, Richard.
Yes.
I just want to say this. Richard and I, last month, we spent a week together, and we, just like everybody would expect, we sat for countless hours each day, late into the evening, discussing UFOs, the community, UAPs, the history. And wow, Richard, man, right? We ran that into the ground, didn't we?
We did. We had a great time. I loved it. I thought you enjoyed it, and it was awesome.
Yep. And then we even did some personal critiques too, as well. We ran out of material and started to analyze each other. That was a lot of fun. That was really cool. But I'm sure that a lot of people wonder, what you and I talk. We talk about other things, but do they actually talk about UFOs? Well, we did that week, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, but I actually want to start here. Today was, September 15th, 2021, a very historic day for this planet. SpaceX launched four civilians, man, 4 space tourists are orbiting this planet right now. It's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Did you watch it?
No, I did not.
Oh, man.
I know. What's wrong with me? Right? Jimmy's shaking his head.
I cried. I lost it. Wow. It was emotional. No, it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool.
I think that's great.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, you and I growing up through the space race, and when you and I are a child of the 60s, you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and you're going.
Look, here's the thing. I was just going to say this. So last night I did a live stream on my YouTube channel, and I'm talking about basically the end of the world and the growth of totalitarian everything over our lives. So I've had other things on my mind. I'm just going to say.
Man, that's heavy. That's heavy stuff. Yeah, that's heavy stuff.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. We're in the
middle of a global revolution. That's what I called it. That's what it is. No one says that, but that's what it is.
And I made this weird comment the other day, Richard, and before I get to some other stuff, I made this comment the other day about wasn't speaking about you. I was speaking about the mass media and different voices on terrestrial radio, not podcasters or things like that. I wasn't going there, but that if you are out there and you're an influencer and you're a talking head on TV and you're doing your opinions instead of the news, which is what goes on today, right? We all know that. But if you're going to be out there opening your mouth, you better be right. You better be right. You better be right. And because most of the time, almost 100%, everybody's wrong. Right? It doesn't matter what
that's a tricky argument. I'm going to challenge you because what one could interpret that as being basically shutting down debate and discourse. People have arguments and not everyone's right. So what do you do in that event? Do you just shut the person down who you think is wrong? Well, we're getting a lot of that these days, and I actually disagree with that. And I think that we need to continue to debate, and that includes having opinions that are wrong. Not everyone can be right all the time. That's the whole point of having an open society, is that people are going to disagree. They got to work things out. That means you have to be allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
If you're not allowed to make mistakes.
Sure.
Then go. You're living in a one-party state where there's only one truth. Trust the science.
Yeah. And
believe the science rather than question authority, which is what we used to have. Now we're like, believe the science.
Yeah. And no, I agree with what you just said. That's not what I said. Okay, so let me clarify. Yeah, I know what it sounded like. Yeah. And but no, what I'm saying is that those that speak loudly with their opinions for shock value and for effect, where they don't absolutely have zero concern for reality, for anything factual, right? And they're doing that for clicks, and they're doing the. And if you are going to do that, that's what I'm referring to. If you're going to be one of those, you better be right, because your loud voice, people are going to remember that. And when you're wrong, you take a hard tumble. And just be careful. Do your thing. Spirited debate is wonderful. We need that all the time. But you better be right if you are going to speak about something that you know is probably wrong, but you're doing it for effect, and you're doing it for clicks, and you're doing it for shock value, and you're doing it to rile people up. You better be careful with that. So the totalitarian end of the world scenario. You better be right.
No, I'd like to be wrong.
Yeah, of course. I would
love to be wrong. And I would love if in 20 years from now people look back and say, oh, Dolan was off his rocker. That would be the best outcome.
Yeah, we talked about this before, again, privately, and I remember us getting into this, and it was very spirited, and I totally see not only your position and the warning signs, but this has been simmering in a pot for a while now, and I don't think that any of us, we when we talk about 1984, right? People bring that up. They've never read the book, but they always use that for a reference. But these warning signs have been talked about for a long time, going back, 50 years. But I don't think any of us saw that we could actually get to that point where this is a reality and this is a very real possibility. But that's where we are today.
That is, and we've been building toward it. 9/11, everyone thought that was the end result of everything that had built up to that point. But 9/11 was actually a dress rehearsal for what we're living in now. I believe that. So all of the international collaboration that had to do with expansion of state power over citizens, which happened under 9/11, even countries that didn't have a terrorist attack, they followed the U.S. Patriot Act, and they did the whole thing to their citizens, hosed them over, stripped them of their rights. So there was clear coordination then, but we're seeing vastly greater coordination now across the board internationally. So we're looking at an obvious global revolution that is going to create a digital, virtual, totalitarian latchkey state.
You know what? It happened. I've said this before, but it happened before 9/11. I remember, and it's not what you think, Richard. You know what caused it? It wasn't the Patriot Act. No, it was 5 years before that, 4 years. Ted Kaczynski. That's what caused it. The Unabomber. And the search.
I think there were a lot of things that built up to
it. But this is what happened.
Oklahoma City, don't forget that.
Yes. There's
a lot of suspicious things about many of these, and I mean, I studied a lot of false flag aspects of many of the events that led up to 9/11 through the 90s, and I'm not prepared to argue that every single one was a false flag, but there's a lot of suspicious things that occurred through the 90s and prior, frankly, but certainly in the 90s after the Cold War ended. That make me think that we've been played for a long time.
Yeah, I was sitting in an airport in Sacramento, flying back to L.A., and I remember it like it was yesterday, man. The whole Ted Kaczynski thing and the manifesto and the search and who was the Unabomber and everything. And I'm sitting at the gate with about 50 people with our luggage, carry-on luggage, and suddenly the Gestapo rolls in to the gate and says, "We're searching everybody's bags. Open up your bags." I was like, "No, you're not." "Oh, yes, we are." Mm-hmm. "Open up your bags." I said, "I'm not open. I'm not. No. Well, then you're not getting on this flight. And I was like, "You've what?" And it was all the search for the Unabomber, and that was That moment when I unzipped my luggage and allowed them to pilfer through my underwear and look through my stuff, it was at that moment I gave in. And that was it. And everything else happened later, you know, and it was the Unabomber. I'm telling you, that was the moment. That was the moment.
Well, all right. If someone wants to really hear me get into it and get fired up and almost get angry, check out my YouTube thing from last night. I never promote my stuff on your show, but I'm going to promote this video. I call it The Global Revolution. Go check it out.
Yeah, I did get some email about that, by the way.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Richard was fired up, man. Richard was fired up. You need to check that out. I was like, wow, okay, all right. Okay. What was the last song? What was the last song you listened to today?
Oh, last song?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still on my 40s swing jazz kick. I can't get rid of it. It's too good. You know what it is? It's the music of freedom. We forget this. Like, jazz is freedom. So is rock and roll, but jazz is freedom. So I had a bunch of 40s stuff on, and I cranked it, and the last one was the great Benny Goodman, Sing, Sing, Sing.
That's the cut, man. That's the cut.
I mean, how do you beat that?
That's the cut. Gene Krupa.
Stuff there. I just crank it up.
He was... Gene Krupa, man.
Yeah, Gene Krupa, he was a bomb.
Man,
he was really the first like badass drummer. Like he was the first. He was before there was Keith Moon. There was Gene Krupa.
Yeah, he was the John Bonham. Yeah, he was the John Bonham of his day. And if you listen to the way Benny wails on that, he's like Eddie Van Halen. Yes. I mean, just unreal. Caused people to lose their minds too. That song. I mean, people just couldn't control themselves. You know?
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you have control of this, but I'm getting notes that my volume is low.
From me, okay.
Gain up here, but I don't know if you have control over that.
I do. You are now really loud.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh man. Okay. There you go. Right. You've got Dolan front and center.
And I thank you.
Yeah, you might. You know what? Just pull the mic a little closer to you is what you do. Don't turn the mic up. Pull it closer to you.
Tell me how to do my thing here.
Yeah. We've done this before.
Closer. There we go.
Okay. Benny Goodman, Sing, Sing, Sing.
Yeah, it was great.
Let's just jump straight into it. There are a lot of people listening tonight and wondering how this is going to be handled. And there has been nobody here is running around life with blinders on. There has been a lot of chatter out there on social media about the Wilson doc and things surface, and I love that. It's never boring around here. So we have those issues, and as that stuff surfaced, I called Richard and said, what's going on? Well, let's talk about this. Okay. And that's where we are tonight. I want to actually start for those that may not know that are running around with blinders on. What is the Wilson Davis doc? And I am sure that there are people listening right now that are going, what are they talking about?
May I do this?
Yes.
Or do you want to do this?
No. Let's actually start right there. If I was going to say, Richard, what is the Wilson Davis doc? Your answer would be?
My answer would be purportedly, and in reality, it is notes written by Dr. Eric Davis in 2002. After Davis is a private scientist who's got security clearances, and he met in 2002 with retired Admiral Thomas Wilson. Wilson had been director of the Defense Intelligence, he had been deputy director of the DIA back in 1997. And according to Davis's notes from his conversation with Wilson in 2002, Wilson was denied access to a reverse engineering ET related program dominated by a private contractor after he learned about potential special access programs by Dr. Stephen Greer, Edgar Mitchell, and a few others who met with him in 97. Wilson went on his 2-month wild goose chase to find the program, found 4, was denied access, and 5 years later when he retires, talks to Davis and Davis writes these notes. Those notes, as I have said many times, were shown to me in 2006. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. And then leaked out to the world in 2019. And some people have said, wow, these are amazing. Other people have said these are completely bogus.
Now,
and that's where we're at.
The core document, because there are some extra pages and other things to consider here. There is a letter that is part of this package. We have the alien autopsy pages too as well, and these are all ancillary.
All of these leaked from the estate of Dr. Edgar Mitchell
from Apollo 14. That is right. But the core document, I believe, is 14 pages, 13 pages, 14?
13 plus the 2 pages of a letter by Will Miller.
That's right.
Commander Will Miller, Al Puthoff, and Eric Davis.
Now, historically, we would call this document a leak. It was leaked out. It did come from the archives of astronaut Mitchell, but the documents themselves, Richard was exposed to a couple of pages back in the late 2000s, 2007, which you just mentioned.
2006.
2006. Right. We're going to talk about that because that's an important point to.
I can actually prove that, by the way, and I will prove that tonight. And
well,
our listeners will find that proof because I'm going to tell them how to find it.
And what's really cool for me is a few years ago, way before the document leak, you actually mentioned it on this show.
That's right.
Yeah, and so
the document actually had leaked by then to Grant Cameron, although I did not know this fact. So it had gone to Grant from James Rigney, who was the second in line to get those documents.
Yes, that is correct.
James gave him to Grant I think Grant was at a conference run by Paola Harris in November of 2018. Rigney was there, showed Grant the documents, the notes, which had leaked to him. They had been JPEG by then. So Grant had them. But when I did the interview with you,
that was before that.
Neither of us knew any of this. So that was in, I think, December of 2018.
Yes, it was before that.
You threw curveball at me. You said, have I ever seen – I was not expecting this question. You said, have I ever seen or experienced anything that I've never told anyone about? And the new bit of information that I gave you and the world that night was that, like, I had talked about what I'd known about the Thomas Wilson affair. Like, I had talked about this, and I had mentioned he'd been denied access, but I'd never mentioned that I had read the notes, those 2 or 3 pages. I'd not ever said that until your show that night.
I remember how uncomfortable you were discussing that. Okay, so back to the historical timeline here. After that, Grant had come up to me at the Conscious Life Expo with his attorney and said, I've got these docs, man. I've got, and he was like shaking. And
yes, he was.
Yeah. I was like, dude, what's going on? Well, I just be patient. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And I was like,
well, the thing is, he knew that this was explosive. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, when I got the documents leaked to me a few months later, I talked to Grant, and he said, "Well, now you're in the box I'm in." That's exactly what he said.
And to be clear here, when Richard and I got these, it was like Proton Mail or something. Mm-hmm. Something comes in, and I'm looking at, I'm like, Imager, and I never click on those links. I just don't. It's just like always a
I didn't
danger.
either, but Tracy did.
Right.
I would never have seen them.
Right.
Tracy is checking out my email. Says, "Oh, what's this?"
I did the same thing.
I would never have seen them until they would have leaked 2 months later. I would have completely been oblivious.
So I call Richard and I go, "Dude, have you seen these?" I have. What is going on? And that was a pretty pivotal day, and pretty pivotal week because the next day. I called Stephen Greer and told him about the documents. I did send them to Steve, and I said, your name is in here. And then I think it was that Friday, I brought Greer on to Coast. Maybe Fade to Black and Coast to Coast. Maybe we did that both in the same week. But the point being that these documents were hot. Like too hot to handle, burn after reading kind of thing. We were all reading them line for line, page for page, trying to absorb what is going on. Some of this stuff, including like the alien autopsy, Richard and I had talked, the stuff about Kit Green. We have talked about that before, but all of this suddenly is crashing down on us at the same time, and we had to absorb it and understand the significance of it. And
I want to tell you why I hesitated to release them myself. There's only one reason. The only reason is that because, I had been shown that document, those notes in 2006. And the person who showed them to me, as I have said this many, many times, is extremely, ultra, super duper close to all of this. All right. I've never given up his name. Smart people have figured this out. It's not that difficult, frankly. But I promised I'm not going to give this guy up. So, and that is the only reason I hesitated at all. Like, if I had no part of that at all, if I had never seen these before, I can tell you right now, I would have put those out in April when I got them, without a hesitation. Just because, and I would have said, I don't know if these are real or not, but let's just take a look at this. Like, I would have done that. But out of respect for the individual who showed me those documents 13 years prior, I didn't want to be the one to do it. And Grant didn't want to be the one to do it. And so, and then someone else, I don't even know the person who leaked them ultimately. Someone put them, I think, on a Reddit feed. And the next thing I know, they're just starting to circulate quietly. And at that moment, I made my YouTube video. And I think that's what kind of blew it up in June of 2019.
Well, let's take our break right here.
We have to talk about John Greenwald's critique of this, right?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
I just want to say this. Look, I'm not ducking John, but I did not want to go on. I had my reasons, and I can go into that maybe after the break.
Yep. We'll talk about that, all of that next. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. Tonight, the Wilson doc, The Final Cut. Lots to discuss tonight. Yeah, when we circle back, John Greenwald and his points that he has brought up. I have reviewed all of that. We will get to it after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30daysfree on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. KGRADB.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B blend for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan. The Wilson Doc. The Final Cut. Richard, did I just get the eye roll from you?
Yeah.
I did. I just got the eye roll. The massive sarcasm, like, Jimmy, check this out. But yeah, the Wilson Doc is a big deal.
I'm going to tell you right now, I can tell where you're going with this.
I am.
I
do?
know you're on John's side here, and you're both completely wrong.
I'm on John's side.
100%.
I'm on the side of truth.
I'm just saying this here, and I'm going to tell you why. You start.
Okay. This is, John's point. Look, and
is irrelevant.
To be very
NRO document.
To be very clear here, all I do is read everything and absorb everything, and then just try to understand what is going on. And so to John, okay. So, but let's speaking of Greenwald directly. The NRO doc that he did the presentation on.
Maybe you should explain this.
Yeah. Well. Right? Yeah. Let me there's a document that Stephen Greer revealed. It wasn't in the far distant past. It was in the mid 2000s.
Greer had done in 1991 a document purporting to be NRO, and had that and showed this to Wilson, and that was the initial document, according to Greer, that prompted Wilson to go on his hunt for the black budget programs. And John, in his recent analysis, says that he proved that the document is a hoax. Therefore, he calls it foundational, and that therefore, if that document is a hoax, then everything else has got to be a hoax.
Right, and I don't understand Greenwald's definitive line in the sand there, but we'll come back.
Well, it's a huge mistake.
Yeah, we'll come back to that part. But the document is purported to be from 1991. I believe, I could have the dates wrong. I don't have a bunch of complete notes in front of me, but I think that Greer first published this document in 2014 and 2013, 2015. It doesn't matter. The document wasn't revealed to the public in 1991 or anything like that. It's recently been revealed. Now, the problems with the document that John has presented, I have reached the conclusion that the document is bogus. So, but I don't know.
Careful. You should be careful about that conclusion.
Well, but let me give the reasons why. Okay. Right. First off, the most important. There's a long list of stuff that John has presented here. Any one of them throws things off kilter, but the Internal Security Act that is listed there. If you are in violation of this, use of deadly force, whatever. The code that is listed in this document has nothing to do with the National Internal Security Act and stuff. The code numbers don't match. The code, which is, I'm looking at the restricted sign that is hanging on my wall, Security 21, Internal Security Act of 1950. 50 USC 797. That's what's on the official sign that is hanging on my wall. What the numbers that are listed in there are something for the Marine Corps and chocolate pudding, not to be used in the cafeteria. It has nothing to do with any kind of security breaches. So that right there couldn't be used in this document. That is a mistake. And whoever created the document obviously didn't know what they were doing. There's that. The second point, forget about the Richard, the technical side, the wrong logo, the Air Force logo. It's not an NRO logo. NRO wasn't revealed until 1993.
This is painful for me to hear this.
Right. Going. But put that to the side. The list, though, of the organizations that are included in this distribution, half of them are bogus to me. And so if you're going to go down and list...
What do you mean to you? What does that mean?
Cosmic, MJ12, Magic, all of these
they
trigger...
can't possibly exist.
Trigger word. They don't. Not under those names, and you wouldn't have them on a list like this. If these are the most top secret groups in the world, you are going to put them all in a distribution list? No, it just wouldn't happen that way. And it's all the trigger magic words that, William Moore used. This is like the Doty list, and it smells funky to me. It's just
right, so let's I'm going to stop you. So there are two things here. Now, let's say the document is a hoax. Maybe it is. Maybe it is not, and I'm going to provide a counter argument later why it may not be. But it may be. Maybe John is correct here. And it's hard for me to get into all the weeds of document analysis. It's not my top expertise, and I'm not going to pretend. Mm-hmm. But John is making a false argument here to begin with. He's making a fruit from the poisoned tree argument, and it's a huge mistake, right? This is an important legal argument, and we want to have this thing legally. So, in other words, if law enforcement obtains evidence against you and it's not obtained legally, there's not proper warrants and so forth, any evidence that they get against you is not admissible in a court of law because that is fruit from a poison tree. That's an important legal protection that citizens require that prevents state overreach, and we want that and we need that, and that's good. Even if that evidence is true, all right, it's not admissible. Anyone who's watched enough episodes of Law and Order has seen that a million times. Can't use that, Jack? Fine. That's fruit from a poison tree. This is absolutely irrelevant when we're talking about historical analysis for several reasons. First of all, it is John who's making this argument that the NRO document is foundational to everyone. No, maybe Greer's making the argument because it's in Greer's interest to pump up the importance of this document. Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely not true to say that the NRO document is why Thomas Wilson went on his 2-month hunt. When you read the Davis notes, the NRO document's not mentioned at all. No one talks about it. Wilson doesn't talk about it to Davis. Davis doesn't bring it up. No one talks about it. Edgar Mitchell in his interviews never brought it up either. And by the way, Mitchell's testimony is vastly more important than anything that, this NRO document represents. You've got Mitchell multiple times in the first decade of this century stating that Wilson went looking for these programs. He actually talked about it. He didn't use Wilson's name, but he talked about the admiral. It was obvious what he's talking about. But the fact is, John's saying Wilson would never have accepted this. He would have known this is fake. Who was he to say that Wilson would have known this? You don't know that. Wilson wasn't a professional bureaucrat. Wilson was a Navy man. He's put into the position as deputy head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs. And he gets this statement from Greer. He was clearly interested in the UFO subject. We have this as a statement from Will Miller. We have a statement from Greer. We have a statement from Mitchell that Wilson was into this. All right. And by the way, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So Wilson goes looking. The NRO document, I don't understand why people are accepting this argument that this is foundational to everything else.
No, I don't think it's foundational.
It's absolutely irrelevant. There's nothing, it has no relevancy toward Wilson's search. And when he's talking to Davis in the notes, how does he get his information? He's talking to retired Secretary of Defense William Perry, and he's talking to other former members of the senior review group in the Pentagon who have knowledge of this. That's what he's telling Davis.
Well, okay.
No mention of the NRO document anywhere. So it's clearly not that important.
So let me say this. The Wilson-Davis doc is dated 10/16/2002, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Greer didn't produce this document until 2014. The document itself, if it was in any way authentic or real, it would have been produced by Greer a long time ago.
Who are you to talk for Stephen Greer? Why don't you ask him yourself?
Well, but my point is, I think the NRO document is fake and is not a real document. It's not an authentic document. Therefore,
I'm gonna jump in here.
But no, let me finish. No,
because what you're saying may not be true.
Okay.
It actually may not be true.
Okay. But let me get my thought out.
Right.
The document didn't exist for Stephen Greer to show Wilson in 1997. It didn't exist. It didn't. Therefore, it didn't cause Wilson to go on his goose chase.
Wait. What are you saying? The document didn't exist in 1997?
I just don't think that it did. Why?
Well, it's dated. It's purportedly. It's dated July 1991.
It could say 1963. I don't give a crap. It didn't exist in 1991. It's a fake document. So it didn't cause Wilson to do any
Greer
of these
obviously
things.
had it in 97 when he showed it to Wilson.
No, that's who showed it. I'm saying
so you
he
don't
didn't.
Think he did?
No.
Maybe he didn't.
I'm telling you.
Maybe actually he didn't. Now, I mean, it's only Greer who's saying that he showed it to Wilson.
That is correct.
Yeah. So So then Wilson would have gone on his wild goose chase for some other reason that had nothing to do with the NRO document. So why are we even talking about this NRO document? How is it even relevant to the conversation?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand
So
the
how
connection.
is this evidence that the whole thing is a hoax?
Okay, so let's back up. Let me state my position. I believe that Greenwald is absolutely correct and effective. I don't think anybody understands documents more than John Greenwald.
There may be people who do.
Right. But I have to.
John is an expert, but no one is the final word, particularly when you are dealing with the labyrinthian situation of the United States intelligence community and the black budget world and waived programs and carved out programs. All right. There's a lot that is not known.
Sure. But in support of your position that this NRO document shouldn't be tied to or be foundational to this, I'm taking it a step further. It's not only not foundational, it has nothing to do with the Wilson Davis doc. Wilson never saw the document. It didn't exist. It was only published in 2014. And if it was that important and that real and that authentic, Stephen Greer would have been waving this around a long time ago. He did
Maybe
not.
You should ask Greer. I mean, I don't know if you'll get a straight answer or not, but you should. I don't know if I would make that inference that you are making, but I do agree with you that the NRO document is completely irrelevant. And, I like John thinks I may be mad at him. I'm not mad at John Greenwald. I've known John for 20 years. I've respected him. I like him. And I did not want to, he said, well, Dolan blew me off for my show. Look, I didn't want to do it because honestly, John, I respect him. But on this matter, I feel he is absolutely obstinate to the point of like mystification here. I don't understand it. And I don't believe that it's going to be anything other than a pissing match, and I'm just not interested in doing that with him. I don't want to do it. Now, maybe he can come onto my show. Maybe he can come onto my channel. Maybe that's what we'll do. I'm not opposed to talking with John, but I don't want to make this because he says that he is open to all options. I don't believe that is the case because he's been hostile to this from the beginning. And I just don't think that. And then he's latching onto this NRO thing as if it's a legitimate argument. What does that tell you? It's not a legitimate argument to make against the authenticity of these Davis notes. It's irrelevant. Why is he making it a big thing? Why is this some foundational thing? It's not foundational. Having said that, I'm just going to mention this. So on my website, Richard Dolan Members, one cool thing that we've got is a forum. And the reason that this is amazing, because I'll tell you right now, the people who are members of my site have got way more brain power than I've got. All right. I don't know how I got to be so lucky. I've got brilliant genius level people hanging out there. And the forum is their opportunity to dish out their own research, to argue. We've got moderators. It's closed. It's usually polite, not always, but people do their best. And there's been a whole thread on John's analysis here. All right. Now, these people who are commenting go deeper than I would go. And by the way, there's at least one guy who's defending John on this thread on my site, but there's very, very strong critiques as well. And I don't know if I want to go into the whole thing here. There's some long ones. I'm looking at them. But suffice to say that his argument is not necessarily the final word. And I could leave it at that, or I can read some of these counter arguments against him. But the point is, there are intelligent, informed, knowledgeable people who have experience in the classified world who are not buying what John is saying here. It's not the final word necessarily. He may be right in the long run, but to just say, like, what happens is people I think are intimidated. When John Greenwald, he's Mr. FOIA, everyone knows he's got the black vault. No one wants to argue with John on documents. I get it. I don't want to argue with John on documents. Right. But there are people who are able to. And whether they are right or wrong, I do not know. But I do know that there are intelligent, highly articulate counter arguments to what he's saying about that particular document. Having said all of that, his whole fruit from the poisoned tree argument about this does not apply to historical research. It's totally wrong. He's totally wrong to bring this up. It is not foundational to Eric Davis's notes because there's actually no evidence, as you have pointed out, and I agree with you, that Thomas Wilson even saw the damn document. We have Stephen Greer saying that it was a big deal. That's all we got. Wilson actually made no statement in those notes that Davis wrote. There is no reason to believe that the document that Greer purportedly showed Wilson was the thing that triggered. Maybe it helped him find one program. Maybe it didn't. According to the notes that Davis wrote, Wilson found 4 special access programs buried that had to do, he said, with ET or something related to UFOs, and that he spoke directly to the program manager, the security manager, and the corporate attorney of one of those 4 programs, and that's when he got blown off. So that's all of that's in the notes, but none of that refers to the NRO document. So it's a huge mistake to make this NRO document some kind of foundational say. I have never said it's foundational. I may have mentioned that Greer had it, but there's no case to be made that this NRO document has any relevancy whatsoever to anything else that followed.
So, my conclusion, and we can move on from this. There's too many other things to.
There's other things we want to get into.
Yeah, I just think that I don't think the document is real. I don't think it has any relevancy to the Wilson Davis doc. I don't understand the connection. I don't. Greenwald laid out his case.
Here's the thing. So the phrase NRO was an open secret after 1971, and the acronym NRO was actually declassified in 1979.
Correct.
Right? So the acronym was used. The U.S. Air Force was used as a cover for the NRO. All right. So it's according to the analysis that I've got here, it is just false to insinuate otherwise. The Air Force was there on those documents, and the type. There's one minor typo on that document. That is true, where it says, as per the Espionage Act, and it says 30 USC 31 and 32. It should read 50 USC,
which is what I have on 50 USC 797, section 21, which doesn't have anything to do with chocolate pudding in the Marine cafeterias. But anyway, moving on, Richard. Putting this NRO document aside, right. Speaking about the document itself specifically, there's one.
Are we talking about the NRO document?
No, we're talking about Wilson. NRO's off the table. It's bogus.
Fine.
It's bogus.
That was a waste of time.
Yeah. Yep. Greenwald, I think, successfully presented his case. It's a hoax document. That's my conclusion.
The problem, though, is that he's using an irrelevant document to try to discredit these notes.
No, my point.
Why bother doing that?
Richard, my point has nothing to do with Greenwald, has everything to do with the document itself, and that's that distribution list. The fantasy. Who was that guy? Who is that guy that served?
Why is this relevant? Like you're giving space to this as well. Like this is not a legit argument to make against Davis's notes.
No, has nothing to do with Davis's notes.
We're just wasting up valuable air here.
Yes, we are 100%.
Yeah.
That's why I love this guy. I swear. Okay, so moving on. What was that guy's name that surfaced, said that he worked at Area 51 and he was part of MJ-12, and he was a doctor. His name started with a B. Yeah.
Danny Crane?
Yeah, Burrish. That distribution list was written by Dan Burrish. I said it. I said it out loud. Okay. Is this, though? This is why is it that I think that the Wilson Davis doc is so important and so cool, and I've read it through it so many times. Why won't Eric Davis put off Kit Green or anybody else come out, because it doesn't. I don't think it has anything to do with the security oath. I don't think it has. Listen, hold on. This is my opinion.
Terrified.
Why? Why?
Look, here's the thing. No, I don't understand why this is difficult for some people to get this. All right. All of those people, Green, Putoff, Davis, they all still have active security clearances.
For the next 2 years, they're going to be dead. You know, I mean, what does it even matter?
They've all got active security clearances. And for them, this is an embarrassment for them.
Why?
And I know this for a fact. This is an embarrassment because this one person said to me, he was pissed that Mitchell, he was mad at Edgar Mitchell. He said, why the hell did Mitchell not take care of that stuff? He let this thing out. And there was anger. And the whole point is that, look, yeah, these are private notes, but they refer to highly sensitive operations, right? These notes by Eric Davis are not official government documents. That's true, all right? But they are a conversation with a high-level government official who's saying, I was denied access to a ET reverse engineering, UFO program. I mean, holy crap, right? So, and the fact that if they are implicated in the leak of that does not look good for them. Davis right now is working for a company called Aerospace, which is a successor to TRW and Hughes Aircraft, and they're probably working on reverse engineering for all I know, probably. He's certainly working on classified programs. Like, this is a bad thing for him, for this to come out. And for Putoff as well. It's embarrassing. And for Kid Green, it's embarrassing for all of them.
Embarrassing, but you're not going to prison. You're not going to lose your security clearance over some of these 20-year-old notes. They
are terrified.
I don't know. I don't understand why. And
you're trying to think for them, but if you talk to these people, they are. I mean, paranoid. Maybe they're ultra careful about their names getting out. This I know for a fact. So, but it's bad for them.
Yeah, but the notes are Richard. Seriously, the notes are out. You can't put the cat.
I begged. If I was in person, I would have been on my knees, hands clasped together, begging these individuals to make a statement.
If the government came down, I remember saying this to you a few years ago on a phone call. But if the government came down on Putoff or Kit Green or Eric Davis for saying, yeah, I wrote the document. Yes, the documents are. If anything were to happen to any of them, then the document is real. And we have crash flying saucers and we're backward. The government's not going to do crap to anybody to authenticate this document. There's
it's
nothing.
easy for you to say for them. Like, they're the ones on the hot seat.
Could you imagine if the government came down on Putoff and said, you're not supposed to speak about this. This is highly, UFOs, little green men, backwards engineering is classified, so therefore it's real. It would be the biggest. There would be a religion called Putoff 100 years from now.
Look, do you think I did not say such similar things to some of these people privately?
I'm sure you did.
I did indeed. I talked about legacy. I talked about, and the thing, I have to mention this, so I'm not going to mention specific names here, but because I talked to a number of these folks, a number of them, and I'm going to tell you every single one. They all know it's real. They all know it's real. They've all said to me, yes, of course, I'm not giving names here, but I'm just saying in general.
Mm-hmm.
That whole crowd, of course, they know it's real. But they are, like, I would have thought once this came out, they would throw up their hands and say, well, yeah, you got us. But they didn't do it. They doubled down. And so this is where we are. And by the way, Davis obviously is the author. Read the alien autopsy email thread. All right. So Davis, you look at the writing. Davis loves parentheses. He loves little slashes and these little special punctuation. It's in his email thread on the alien autopsy email. It's all over his notes with Wilson. It's clearly Davis's writing. Like, it's not that difficult, frankly, to do a linguistic comparison of the two, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's Eric Davis. Of course, that's how he writes.
Let's take our break.
Here's John, like, really was almost implying At one point in his statement, he actually did wonder if Davis was making this up as a script somehow to impress Robert Bigelow. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? Seriously? And then implying, by the way, that Davis and Puthoff are just silently trolling the rest of the world, letting us just spin our wheels, as if that's what they do. That's actually it sounded insulting to me, to them, and I think it's almost demeaning to them, and it's not how they are at all. They're not trolls to the public. Puthoff is not a troll, and neither is Davis, by the way. These are serious men.
Let's take our break right here. We got to get this in. Richard Dolan is our guest. The Wilson Doc, the final cut. More with Richard after this short break. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. This is Jimmy Church, and I invite you to attend the 20th Annual Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo live and in person this September 17th, 18th, and 19th at the LAX Airport Hilton. Connect with exhibitors, community, thought leaders, and friends as we begin to recreate the world. You can also watch the expo from the comfort of your own home. Live stream from the main stage in Los Angeles and from the main stage in London. Truly a global simulcast event broadcast around the world. Live stream and in-person expo tickets are available now. I'll be your host all weekend long from Los Angeles. And on Friday, it's my Ancient Secrets and Earth Mysteries themed segment with James Keenan, Caroline Corey, and William Henry. And on Saturday, Daniel Sheen and I sit down for a one-on-one interview live. We have an amazing lineup of 25 speakers, including Bashar, Gail Thackeray, Kimberly Meredith, Whitley Strieber, Stephen Bassett, Daniel Brinkley, and Lisa Garr. Please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and info. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com, and use that promo code Jimmy for a special discount. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Talking about the Wilson docs, the final cut. And now, this is Richard. Richard, are you with me? Are you there?
I'm right here.
Richard was putting on his hair products. Nobody can see you, man. Nobody can see you.
I was telling you that I thought your hair looked pretty good.
And then he did this. He did this. Everybody who's I was watching him. I was watching.
Did I do that?
So okay, all right. Richard.
Yes.
I'm gonna go direct, and I know that this is something that, because I know the answer to this, I do. But I've kept it confidential per your request over the last few years. Who showed you the doc in 2007, 2006?
I'm not going to answer that. All right. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
Well, how can you
figure it out? And I'm not putting his name out there.
Okay, but how can you
I would love to.
How can you prove it?
Here's how I can prove it. I did a radio interview on July 1st, 2007 on the Paracast with Gene Steinberg. A lot of people remember Gene. Gene might still be doing this, but Gene is very active. I did quite a few shows with him back in those days.
Pretty good troublemaker, I might add. He was good. Yeah, he was good.
And
he was good.
He ran some good interviews.
Yes, he did.
So on that interview, July 1st, 2000, it was my birthday. I was, wow, a lot younger. I had nice dark hair back then. So back in those times, this was about a year after I had been shown those notes. And it was after I had had my conversation with Thomas Wilson in November of 2006, because I called Wilson. I had a whole phone conversation with him then, and he got kind of mad and ended the conversation early. I've talked about that a few times. I'd communicated with Edgar Mitchell by then. I'd communicated with Stephen Greer by then, actually, too, and a few other folks. And my contact who'd shown me the notes. So I was all these people. And so what I did in 2007, I talked quite a lot about Wilson's denial of access.
Okay, let me jump in.
I was going to give you my proof.
No, hold on. What 2 pages were you shown? Do you?
Yes, well, one of the phrase that I've always remembered was "not of this earth, not made by men, not by human hands."
And what page is that in the document?
That's toward the end. That's page 12 or 13, I think.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull that up. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So that was one of the pages I was shown, and of course, as you can imagine, like, it resonated with me. That's a very powerful thing. Now, when I was shown these notes, I was not allowed to photograph them. I was not allowed to take notes in front of him. You know, if I had pushed a little harder, maybe I could have taken notes, but I didn't, so it was all memory. But that was lodged in my memory, that statement. So now here I am on July 1st, 2007. I'm talking with Steinberg on the Paracast. And I want some listener to find this. This exists on the web because I've listened to it. The audio quality is not great, but it's there. And just before break, midway into the show, we're talking about Wilson. I'm mentioning him by name, talking about the whole thing, things that I'd learned from my source and other things. And I use the phrase, "not of this earth, not made by man, not by human hands." I use that phrase. There's no way in hell I'm ever going to come up with that out of the blue. I was specifically referring. Now, I didn't say that it referred to those notes. because I was trying to protect the source who showed them to me. But I was being a little cute there, and I wanted that phrase in there. And I used that phrase right before the break. Someone can find this. And that's a July 1st, 2007 interview I did with Gene Steinberg of the Paracast. And I maintain that is absolute proof that I was shown that document when I said I was shown it. There's no way I could have known that phrase otherwise.
Yeah, the line is on page 13, and the note is, why, I ask, where did it come from? The answer, program manager said they didn't know where it was from. They had some idea on this, parentheses. It was technology that was not of this earth, not made by man, not by human hands.
Right.
There it is. It's right there. It's page 13.
So I used a version of that phrase. I didn't get it exactly right because, remember, I didn't have the document in front of me. I'd only seen it the one time. But I quoted it accurately enough, and anyone who listens to that will hear it. And it was right before the break.
Now, a couple of things about that page 13. Did you have 2 consecutive pages, like 13 and 14 or 12 and 13?
I can't remember, honestly, because the thing was, this was all totally new to me. The most important thing for me on that meeting was how this individual explained to me what had happened.
Okay.
He explained, he didn't give Wilson's name. He didn't give the name of anyone. He didn't even give, I can't remember if he even mentioned Greer. It's possible he did.
Eric Davis, was he mentioned?
No, he did not mention Davis by name either.
Because Eric Davis's name, or Thomas Wilson, it's just their initials on these pages. It's EWD.
That's correct. But no, I wasn't even swift enough. Like, I wasn't seeing it. And I only had a short period of time with a couple of the pages. I was not given carte blanche. I mean, I have to be very explicit about that. But I was shown enough. And I was given the fundamental story that this man, this powerful man, I wasn't given his name, was denied access to a reverse engineering program having to do with UFOs and ET. Like, I was given the basic fundamental narrative of that. And I was shown, I wish I could remember if it was 2 or 3 pages, and I cannot. It was 2 or 3 pages. But one of the pages was that page that you just quoted, page 13.
Let's talk about a few specific things in this document. You know the document as well as probably anybody, probably better than Eric Davis at this point.
No, that's probably not true. I mean, I know it fairly well, but yes, we can get into the weeds here.
Let's get into the weeds. And I mean, the reason why I bring up Eric Davis, when was the last time he's read this document, right? What I'm saying is that today, enough people have studied this document that know it really well, probably better than Eric Davis, because it was written almost 20 years ago. So, but that being said, there are a lot of nuggets in here that are cross-referenceable.
Arcane things as well.
Yes. So for you, what stands out? Let's go down the list as...
I want to go to the page 15. Let's go to the last page.
Okay.
Last page. And this gets lost in the shuffle, but this is actually really interesting to me. So you've got the name Mary Elizabeth Elliott on there, and you have the name Jeffrey Griffith on there. All right. Now, actually, I don't even have it in front of me. But
I do.
Yeah. So what's there is a statement about her experience with she was a TRW, that's connected in there, right? And her lawyer, Jeffrey Griffith. That she had some sort of UFO-related issue that caused her to seek the help of lawyer Jeffrey Griffith. Now, I've got a couple of people working on this stuff with me. I'm not doing this alone. And we've been hunting down, like, who is Mary Elizabeth Elliott? Who's this lady? Who is Jeffrey Griffith? Well, that's really interesting stuff. So they're obviously real people. And I don't know what actually happened with Mary Elizabeth Elliott. We suspect she may have worked at TRW. She may have learned. She either had a powerful UFO encounter, which Jeffrey Griffith wrote about, or she learned about a UFO program within TRW. That's a possibility to me as well. I don't know which of those is actually the case. But whatever it was, it caused her to seek the help of her lawyer, Jeffrey Griffith. Now, the thing about Jeffrey Griffith that's so interesting to me, you go back a little more than 20 years in UFO Magazine, all right, which was published by Bill Burns, run by Don and Vicky Ecker back in those days. In the late 90s, there was a series of 3 articles in different issues written by an author under the pseudonym Sedge Masters. And this is a fascinating series of articles. It's one of the most interesting things UFO Mag ever put out, in my opinion. Fictionalized portrayal of a crash retrieval program written by someone who seemed to have, hey, if he's making it up, he did a good job. And he went under the pseudonym of Sedge Masters. Now, what's interesting in that is, well, what I'm just going to say is Sedge Masters is Jeffrey Griffith. I'll say that with 99%. I don't know for 100%, but everything lines up. The author bio, Jeffrey Griffith's bio, and most critically, in that series of articles, there's a description of a UFO, an underwater UFO coming from Catalina Island to the southern west coast of California. Object comes out of the water, flies over these people. They're in a sports car. They chase after it, and they're stopped by a strange policeman, they say, who says, "Get off here, you're on private property." And so what's interesting is that this is almost verbatim, the point by point, written by the Sedge Masters piece, as well as Jeffrey Griffith. If you go to waterufo.net, this is run by the late Carl Feind, that story is in there. It's point by point. To me, there's no question that this is the same guy. Now, what's interesting here is that that is such an arcane little fact. And somehow, the fact that TRW is involved, I find somehow Mary Elizabeth Elliott connected with TRW, there's some kind of UFO truth that's in that little statement in there that I think that matters. And I have to wonder, what is Eric Davis doing over at Aerospace Corp? Aerospace Corp is what TRW became.
Now, let me...
maybe that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, just for reference here, this is what Richard is speaking about, and it's the last 2 or 3 paragraphs on page 15, this is Eric Davis. He says, keep for private personal research, data collection to track down the story and ascertain signal noise in media and from government sources. We'll keep mouth shut, etc., etc. Todd Wilson about Mary Elizabeth Elliott TRW story. Yeah. Ingo's story, a 1974 RV, or remote viewer, woman who went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base trying to make connection.
Yeah, those are 2 separate stories.
That's right. And then Thomas Wilson replies, feedback. Mary Elliott sounds like real deal based on her info and behavior with attorney Jeffrey W. Griffith. And then there's some subtext here. A, probably will only come totally clean on her deathbed 30 years from now. Very interesting point. B, don't know about Ingo. Axelrod or RVer woman at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base doesn't have info on their stories from sources.
Yeah, think about the Axelrod reference, by the way. All of this makes perfect sense. If this all came from the NIDS crowd, which it did. Axelrod, that's Ingo Swan's thing. Who was Ingo's boss? That's Hal Puthoff. They all knew about the Axelrod story. The Axelrod story, by the way, is a fascinating story. I've talked about it a number of times. But the point here is that was well known to that whole crowd. So all of that's logical conversation that you would expect with the Davis, Puthoff, Kit Green, Colm Kelleher, Eric Davis crowd, but Robert Bigelow. They would all know that. Edgar Mitchell would know that because they're all friends. And Puthoff obviously knew it the best because he worked with Ingo, and he clearly was happily telling all of his colleagues about it, so they all knew. So yeah, they're going to talk with Wilson about that. Why not? Because it's a hell of a fascinating story.
Now, next point and page. The next point, I asked you for a list of things that stand out.
How about the reference on page 1 to Oak Shannon?
Oh, you know what? Okay.
That was something that Grant Cameron, when he saw that, he was like, as soon as I saw the name Oak Shannon, I was like, okay, this is heavy duty stuff.
Yeah.
Oak Shannon actually makes perfect sense. So Oak Shannon was a guy, I don't know everything about his career. He was Navy. He actually was part of John Alexander's advanced theoretical physics group back in the 1980s. They met at the BDM Center in McLean, Virginia. And this was John Alexander's part of that whole NIDS crowd, obviously, right? They all knew each other. So Oak Shannon knew Alexander. He probably knew some of these other guys. And in the notes, you see that it's this man who arranged the meeting between Wilson and Davis. Like, Shannon's the guy who's friends with Wilson, and he's telling him, yeah, Davis is good. You can trust him. Because Wilson didn't know Davis from Adam at this point. He's like, I don't know who this guy is. So the fact that, like, that name. Now, yeah, I'm well aware that both of Wilson and Shannon are like, well, Wilson's like, I don't think I ever knew him. But no, that's BS. Like, he clearly knew him. And Shannon arranged for this meeting. To me, I thought that was quite a significant little out of the blue little tidbit.
It says here, this is from Thomas Wilson. He says, I recalled phone call with Oak Shannon in fall, August of 1999. Big Oak Shannon fan. Go back years in the Navy before Oak left for Lannel. And then he continues.
Los Alamos National Labs.
Yes, and Los Alamos. Oak talked for 2 hours, wanted to convince to talk to me, Eric Davis, about what he told Will Miller, and we'll get to that letter in a second. June 97 and April of 97, RE, the Boston Globe story by Leslie Kean. Yes.
Oh, that's important stuff, too.
Yeah. And this is, yes, the UFO topic, crashed, retrieve UFOs, craft and bodies, etc., MJ-12 like UFO organization or cabal. And Davis replies back, what was said? And Thomas Wilson says, confirmed that Greer, Miller, Mitchell gave a talk at the Pentagon conference room. We've talked about this many times. Admiral Mike Crawford, General Pat Hughes, his boss, were present, others too. Date of April 97, Edgar Mitchell said 4/9/97. After group broke up, Miller Wilson talked privately for 2 hours on UFOs, MJ-12, Roswell, crashed UFOs, alien bodies, etc. Thomas Wilson was intrigued. Knew about intelligence on U.S. military intel, UFO close encounters, and foreign governments encounters, seen the records, and he told Miller.
Yep.
Now let's go back to this Boston Globe story.
Yeah, so if you notice in the notes there, Davis is writing down that Wilson was really pissed that Miller had talked to Leslie Kean, the journalist. All right. And in those notes, Wilson's like, this is, Navy camaraderie. I spoke with Miller in confidence, and now he goes blah-blahing to Leslie Kean, journalist. Now, this is true. And one thing that I didn't realize, and I have to thank UFO Joe Murgia, and Juliana Marinkovic, because they provided me with some of this information I'm now going to give you, which is not only, Leslie, that's right, she wrote a Boston Globe article in, was it 90? She writes that so she wrote in her Boston Globe article that Will Miller, she uses Miller's name, I want to get this right here, that he had a meeting with the director of the DIA and an admiral on the joint staff. But she wrote another article for a French magazine, VSD. I didn't know about this. So Joe pointed this out. I think Giuliano found it. She writes that in September of 98, so a follow-up meeting that Miller and Greer briefed the DIA, I'm reading this, the DIA director. That's Pat Hughes. That's Wilson's boss. So she outed Wilson and Hughes without naming them in her various statements here. So here's the point. If Greer and Miller were like so unimpressive to Wilson in April 97, how in hell are they going to get a meeting in September 98 with Pat Hughes, Wilson's boss? Like, that's rather interesting to me. if they were just so, who cares? But this is Leslie's reporting, and it's not, Joe just hit me up here with a message, so he's obviously listening live. He writes in 2000, both articles. Thanks, Joe.
This is the gossip columnist guy on Twitter.
Joe Merge is, in my opinion, he's a genuine
gossip columnist.
Joe, yeah. UFO Joe.
Yeah. He's
a good guy, and we're lucky to have him. Him and Giuliano, we're putting this together.
The Rona Barrett of the UFO world does a good job. Okay, so
he's far better than that.
Really? You think
yes.
so? Okay.
Absolutely. You talk with him sometime. He's very good.
Okay. Good enough. I don't read his stuff, so I can't vouch. But staying on this, so
I do, and he's worthwhile.
So he revealed the stuff to you, or who was the lady?
No, he just reminded me or told me that Leslie didn't just do the Boston Globe piece. She did this other article as well for a French magazine, VSD.
Right.
And in that so this is Leslie Kane, and she's stating that Greer and Miller had a subsequent meeting in September 98 with Pat Hughes.
Now, there's another reference at the bottom here, which I find interesting, and it kind of goes back to some of the points that I've made, which is this. Wilson says, yes, Miller asked the question on MJ-12 UFO cabal, right? Confirmed he called Miller circa late June 97 and told that Miller was right. There is such an organization in existence. I think that's a very important point. Not necessarily under the name or this acronym, MJ-12, but there is a group there in existence at that point. I find that very relevant.
Clearly
relevant.
Yes.
Okay, we are 60 seconds from a break, Richard. So let's go. We'll set this up for the return here. What's the next page you want to reference?
Oh, I don't know. I should pull it up.
Okay. Well, then we will do just that. Richard's going to catch me by surprise after the break. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. This is the Wilson Doc, The Final Cut. I am your host, Jimmy Church. More with Richard when we come back after this short break. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Richard after this. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You know what's really fun tonight with Richard. Richard Dolan is our guest, and Richard and I'm sure, going at it, man. I dig it, man. I dig it, and talk about spirited debate, and it's tough for me to hold my ground, man. It's I'm just a doofus, but anyway, Richard.
Yes.
There has been, and I understand this, from the word go, when the document, the docs, I should say, it's 15 pages. Collectively, there's more than that. And holding the alien autopsy stuff to the side, because I think all of that is authentic. And it's probably some of the best.
I was told that directly by Kit Green, and that was public.
And also pretty funny, too. There's some comedy in there. I mean, watching. Yeah, it's very interesting watching them going back and forth, how they communicated with each other. And they definitely didn't hold back. But putting alien autopsy aside and the letter, which is 2 pages, putting that to the side, because I believe the letter is authentic. It's not that big of a deal. But there was quite a bit of, and I get it too, that this document is just bogus, right? This is just a hoax from the word go, and there's no way that it is authentic. I've kind of gone back and forth with that. I've swung back to the reason why I think these notes are authentic, and I want your opinion, is that Eric Davis has stayed silent on it. And that right there, I'm being very, very serious. That right there just says, it got leaked. He knows it, but he's not going to comment on it. He's going to steer clear.
I don't want to harp against John Greenwald, but this is where John is wrong again.
Oh, John pointed,
because what John has said is that the no comments that those of us who believe that these are legit documents, that we twist the no comments into an affirmation. And John actually made a very strong point that that's not true.
Oh, that's
but
right.
Actually, it is true. All right, and here's why. It's not the case that, like, if you're in the classified world, like John actually uses an example. He asked Lou Elizondo a kind of a theoretical quote about this, but he really twisted Elizondo's answer to his own purpose, and it really wasn't properly done. The thing is this: let's say you're in the classified world, and I say to you, "Hey, you know what, Jimmy? I know that you gave weapons of mass destruction to Saddam Hussein in 2001." And like, let's say you didn't do it. You would not say, "Oh, I'm offering a no comment on that because I'm not authorized." Like BS. You would say that's baloney, and you would say, because that's a lie. It's not true, and you are not breaking any classified protocols whatsoever. All right, that's the fact. If these notes were totally bogus, I mean, you got Davis's initials right there, EWD. Throughout every page of this document. It's clearly meant to be Eric Davis. It is in his writing style to boot, as I was saying earlier. This is exactly how he writes his notes. Does anyone with a brain in their head actually think, if those are a fake hoax that implicates Davis, and Davis knew they were a hoax, do you think he would say no comment? Does anyone think that he would say no comment? Davis is one of the most forthright, upfront people that I can even think about. Davis is always upfront about this type of thing. And on this matter, he's actually not silent. I mean, he did a very interesting interview with Stephen Greenstreet of the Basement Office where that's been pulled, by the way, but he was incredible. Like, he really did authenticate those notes, I thought. But he didn't say that he wrote them. But, you know, he went about as far as he could go because he's Eric Davis, and that's what he does. He goes right to the line every time. And he doesn't go over because he knows. He's very highly intelligent, and he knows just how far he can go. But on this case, he gives this convoluted no comment along with Putoff. In fact, their no comments are almost exactly worded the same way.
You know, the no comment part is one thing about authentic. Are these notes real? Right. Okay. So we're pulling that to the side. They could answer this question. Have you had these docs? Have you had these? Have you had these in your possession since 2002? Yes, I have. That's not breaking any oath. That's not authenticating anything.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Because if they have had them for 19 years, right? That would support a lot of aspects to this.
One of that crowd said to me off the record, "I've known about those documents since day 2."
Right.
Exact quote.
You can answer that. You can answer that question, right? You can answer that question without breaking any oath, and I don't even think the oath matters.
Well,
But
they don't want to do it. I can't speak for them. They are scared out of their minds. I'm telling you, they're afraid of the repercussions. So you can disagree with them. I can disagree with them. I have privately, but they feel how they feel. They're just not going to do this. They're not going to blow what they feel is their credibility, not with us. They don't care about us. They care about their credibility within the classified world and those colleagues.
But Kim Jelen just tweeted this, a half an hour ago. But I think it's a brilliant tweet and a great point. And she says, wasn't put off on the TTSA board of directors. How concerned is he about his reputation? Right? If he's doing that, he's out of the what does he care?
Well, I've asked him that myself.
I mean, he's clearly out of the closet. Right? I mean,
yes, that's true. He's out of the closet in the sense of his UFO interest, which was very much as much in the closet as could be 20 years ago.
Sure.
I knew way back then that he was interested in UFOs. I'd talked with him about that for years. But yeah, that was like not something that he wanted out to the world. Now it's quite obvious. I mean, you read Will Miller's letter in that document, and this is all about Miller talking about potentially working for Putoff and Davis to do investigations of like crash retrievals and other matters pertaining to UFO. Like, clearly they were deep interested in UFOs, and all of that was true. like they are. So, but why TTSA? Who the hell knows? I mean, he, according to what Hal actually said to me privately, he says, look, what did he say? We believe in getting a more veridical, truthful public conversation out there, which in fact is what they did do. For all the bitching and moaning about TTSA, like they succeeded in doing that, something that no one else has ever done. That's a fact. TTSA, you can complain about them all you want. They and only they were able to get the New York Times to do those 2 articles in 2017. Without TTSA, those articles would never have happened. Never. And all the other stuff that they did open up to a large extent the public conversation on UFOs, which had been shut down for decades, generations.
Did you know that TTSA shut their T-shirt store down in Encinitas?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I've said for years, like, they are not long for this world.
No, I remember you speaking about this quite a while ago. And
I didn't have inside info. It was just my own thought on this.
You could feel it. Yeah, you could feel it. Now, I want to go back to this letter, and I've got it pulled up here. We've referenced this now.
Miller's letter?
Miller's letter. Will Miller, and this is addressed to, and it's on semi-official letterhead in that it's from Will Miller. It's got his address on it. And I'm not going to get into any doxing. We're not going to mention that, but it is written to Dr. Eric W. Davis, CEO of Warp Drive Metrics in Las Vegas. And it starts off with this. It says, Dear Eric, I must apologize to you and Hal put off, for not getting back to you sooner. The fog of war, current business activity, and losing your new email address all contributed to the delay. First.
Yeah, the war in Afghanistan was brand new.
That's right.
At that time.
First, I must ask you and or Hal would be interested in meeting with Mr. Bob Beckwith in Tallahassee, Florida on the evening of May 30th. Bob has been invited to meet with the head of Florida Academy of Sciences and the director of the High Magnetic Field Laboratory for a roundtable discussion of his, Mr. Beckwith's, force model of the universe and his planned experiments in LTT, levitation, teleportation, and time travel, among other subjects. I believe that the meeting date is now firm, but that will be determined in the next conference.
And stop right there, because what we now know for a fact is that Davis and Puthoff are deeply interested in all of those topics, levitation, teleportation, time travel. How do we know that? You look at the 38 titles of the documents under the ATIP program that were gotten out of the DIA a couple of years ago. And you've got all of those themes. And Puthoff was the man in charge of getting all those papers. You may know that. You may not have known that. So these types of, traversable wormholes and all of these other types of Harry Potter types of technology, which were the theme of a lot of the ATIP research. And by the way, for very good reason, they were looking into that. And here you have, roughly at around the same time, a little earlier, 2002. Is that when this is dated 2002, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you see Puthoff, and he's talking to Puthoff and Davis about those very topics because, they were and probably still are very interested in those. So that makes perfect sense.
Now, it's this next paragraph that sets the tone, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
He says, I would be willing to assist you and Hal with your ongoing research into UFO crash retrievals and the entities within the government or outside of it that are involved in that business, with the following caveats. First, there must be absolutely no mention or association of my name with your work or investigation. I have absolutely nothing to gain from such an association at this time, and possibly much to lose. Second, I would charge you, right? You and I talked about this a lot. I would charge you for the actual time I spend in putting together materials, references, or contact lists for you to pursue. I would expect that time to be minimal since the initial information would not take long to put together, probably less than 8 hours. My standard rate is $180 an hour. Third, nothing I would provide you would be classified from a national security perspective, although I have held top secret TS clearance with a special, let me get to page 2, compartmented information, SCI, and other special clearances for other, quotes, other programs. I currently do not work in the classified realm, nor do I hold these clearances. As I discussed with you, only by means of working on a current classified government contract and having the need to know, there it is, and thus requesting my previous clearances be reinstated by the DOD, would I again work in the classified realm. Now, all that said, and pending further discussion with you and Hal on your ultimate objectives for having such information, I could provide the following. That's pretty strong from Will Miller, laying it out right there, including his rate. It's very interesting.
Yeah. How does the hoax thing work for this? Like, honestly, even talking about this as a hoax is almost a total waste of time. But the reason I want to come on to talk about this with you is because, there's some people who just will not let this go, and it is really destructive to our community at this point, because what we need to be doing with all of this stuff is actually getting into the details and learning critically important information out of these details. This is important stuff here. But think of it as a hoax scenario. How in God's name does this make sense? You have people, John was talking about it being a movie script. Are you serious? Who actually believes that this is a movie treatment of any sort, or some kind of script? No. This is Eric Davis. I mean, other than the Miller's letter, we're talking about Eric Davis's writing. So obviously Eric Davis. So did Davis insert a fake letter by Miller? Miller actually gave some totally half-assed, I think it was cobbled together from different letters I wrote. He was, I think, at least initially, he was denying that he wrote this letter. It's absurd. He clearly wrote the letter. They're all embarrassed.
And he says, I could provide the following. 1, particulars on a special team involved as a secondary mission with recovering crashed craft, including but not limited to the previous classified F-117 stealth fighter. The team or its successors, its parent sponsoring entity, and its 2 key officers may provide some of the information that you seek. Now, he doesn't say UFO here. He says UFO on the previous page when it comes to crash retrievals. But clearly that's what he's referencing here in point number 1. But number 2, again, he's naming names or offering to give up names.
Yes, he's quite specific.
Yes, he says the name and last location of a senior officer who I believed had firsthand knowledge of U.S. government alien reproduction vehicles, ARVs, at Area 51 and associated locations. Whoa.
And by the way, this can't be a cut and paste or anything like that. This is a completely coherent, fully comes together type of a letter. Every part of it refers to every other, all of it is logical. All of it is coherent. This is all one statement. This is Miller making his pitch to Putoff and Davis. Here's what I can do for you.
Point number 3, giving up more names. The name and current location of a retired senior flag rank officer who I believe was directly involved in government interaction with a significant UFO event on the east coast of the U.S., and I believe has, by virtue of his former leadership position, high military rank and control of significant military forces, direct knowledge of United States government involvement in this business.
Again, that's a hell of a statement, isn't it?
It's a hell of a statement.
That's
and not
heavy duty.
Not beating around the bush. It's very direct.
Nope.
Giving up names, too, man. I mean, it's man, $180 an hour, I'll give you the list. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. Number
2002,
4.
He sounds like he's worth it, frankly.
Yeah.
For that type of information.
Yeah. Let's go back to $2002. $180. What is that today? Yeah, $500.
That's valuable information, though.
Yes, it is.
Pay for it.
Number 4, more names. A list of civilian government contractors who, by virtue of their past and current highly classified work, current capabilities, clearances, specialized personnel, and geographic areas of concern most likely have current involvement and knowledge of U.S. government work in alien-derived technologies, crashes, landing, and associated events. If you have interest in any of the above, please let me know.
And all of this is completely in line with what we know about Will Miller. You know, listen to some of his interviews. He did one with Stephen Greer a bunch of years ago, 5 years ago, I think. And they're talking very openly about, like, first of all, they talked about their meeting with Wilson, and they got fairly specific. They didn't get into all the details because I think they still felt constrained because this leak had not come out at that time. But Miller clearly has a long-standing interest in it. By the way, I mentioned Joe Merger earlier. Joe knew Miller way back in the day in Florida, decades ago, had a lot to say about him. But the point is, Miller, all of this is exactly in line with what we know about Will Miller. This is the kind of thing he would conceivably have said, and he's saying it to the right audience, Putoff and Davis, who are all over this stuff. Like they and the whole NIDS group through the 90s and through the 21st century, they're working their way into the labyrinth. That's all they want. They want the Holy Grail. They want the answers. And so here they're talking with a guy who's like, I've got some answers. You pay me $180 an hour and I'll get you some damn good answers. So all of this makes perfect sense. It's completely logical. And what's interesting is that in the when Davis is talking with Wilson, he shows him this letter. And I thought the response there was actually kind of funny. Wilson laughs. He's like, well, you know, Miller knows a few things, but he doesn't know everything. And I mean, all of that just seemed very, very credible. And again, if this is a hoax, it's either someone posing as Davis who just happens to write exactly like Eric Davis, or it's Davis, which is obviously the case. So why is Davis going to make this up? And why then is one of Davis's close associates going to show this to me in 2006 as a real thing? And by the way, I wasn't the only person shown this. There's a very prominent, highly regarded, serious person in the UFO field who was also shown this many years ago. And I know this because that person told me directly. And that person will not go public. So I was like, thanks for nothing. But this is a very serious, credible individual who's no one's fool, and said, oh yeah, I know that's for real. You know, and talked with all the same people that I talked with. All right. So where you have long-standing relationships with these people, by the way, right? Where you respect them, you have mutual conversations. This is for real. So if Davis made this up as a script to impress Bigelow, which I think is a ridiculous idea, why the hell are they going to be shopping this around to UFO researchers? Just to jerk our chain? Just to get a good laugh? To troll us? I don't buy it.
Well, the last paragraph, Richard, to me, which has nothing to do with UFOs or crash retrievals.
Are you going to his letter here?
Yeah, is this, which is like the most interesting, to me, part of the entire letter. Will says, finally, I have a request. I'm trying to locate a company in Las Vegas which some years ago manufactured a specialized disabling pepper spray. They did this for the military and law enforcement. The company was called One Mark Inc. at 2300 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 500, and I knew its VP, a Mr. Joe Zuccaro. Any help in locating him or the company would be appreciated. Best regards, Will.
Exactly.
That right there is the most interesting part in this letter.
Yeah, it's a total non sequitur.
Total non sequitur.
He just tosses it in there. So, by the way, you got this little bit of information on this totally irrelevant thing. Yeah, it's a good point. What's that doing?
I mean, if you're hoaxing, if you're fabricating, you're not that smart, right? You're not adding.
Miller, by the way, Miller hasn't said anything because honestly, he's clearly embarrassed over the fact that Wilson got pissed because Miller talked to Leslie Kean, and it came out that Wilson learned about that, and it got back to Wilson and it got back to General Pat Hughes, and Wilson was angry and embarrassed. And it's like, hey, he's a Navy guy. He should not have done that. We have our code. and he broke that code. And so I've no doubt Miller probably felt really bad. He's like, oh, damn. So now this whole thing comes out, and he's now faced with this situation which caused him a little bit of embarrassment.
Don't write
There's
an
no
email.
way he's going to want to revisit that.
Don't write an email.
Like double down and make it worse.
Don't put it in an email. Whatever you do, it's going to come back. But this is you're going to hang on for some overtime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Is this Will Miller? Let's go back to the 97 stand-up meeting at the Pentagon, which I think that now we can all agree that meeting did take place at the Pentagon. Stephen Greer was there, and so was Will Miller. And
yeah, Wilson told me that directly. I mean, he admitted to that.
Right. And so
there's no debate that he met with those individuals in April 1997.
And that's what I find so interesting here. You know, it all goes back to that 1997 meeting at the Pentagon. Edgar Mitchell's there, right? Mm-hmm. Stephen Greer does his presentation. Will Miller's there. Thomas Wilson is there. And a host of other people.
Pat Hughes was there.
Yeah, Pat Hughes.
I believe Hughes was there, and some other bigwigs. If I'm not mistaken, Greer can clear this up, but I thought even his associate Sherry Ademiak might have been there. She passed away later, but I thought she might have been. Someone can correct me if they know better.
Well, I've done a few different shows with Dr. Greer on this document and on that meeting, and who was in attendance. So it must be there locked in on one of those shows, because I know that I went down every person in the room that he could name. So let's take our break right here. We're going to come back to overtime. We're going to swing off the Wilson Davis document, because when we come back, there's some other things that are going around the UFO community right now that need to be discussed, and I want to bounce some of this off of Richard and get what he thinks about all of this, and we will do that when we come back. He has no idea what I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be fun. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Mr. Dolan after this short break. Stay with us.
You are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. This is Jimmy Church, and I invite you to attend the 20th Annual Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo live and in person this September 17th, 18th, and 19th at the LAX Airport Hilton. Connect with exhibitors, community, thought leaders, and friends as we begin to recreate the world. You can also watch the expo from the comfort of your own home. Live stream from the main stage in Los Angeles and from the main stage in London. Truly a global simulcast event broadcast around the world. Live stream and in-person expo tickets are available now. I'll be your host all weekend long from Los Angeles. And on Friday, it's my Ancient Secrets and Earth Mysteries themed segment with James Keenan, Caroline Corey, and William Henry. And on Saturday, Daniel Sheen and I sit down for a one-on-one interview live. We have an amazing lineup of 25 speakers, including Bashar, Gail Thackeray, Kimberly Meredith, Whitley Strieber, Stephen Bassett, Daniel Brinkley, and Lisa Garr. Please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and info. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com, and use that promo code Jimmy for a special discount. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Okay, welcome back. Fade to Black, Overtime with Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. And going to lighten things up a little bit, somewhat. Richard, I went to the premiere of Extraordinary, The Revelations.
Right.
Yeah, on Saturday night. And it was kind of strange. I narrated the film, and it was kind of strange to sit through a film and listen to that. It is truly nails on a chalkboard for myself. Everybody enjoyed it. But let me say this. Your participation in the film was bleeping great. And I'm not just saying that because you're here and you're on the show. A lot of people made those same comments that night. And also, I'm going to say that the way that you were framed and lit, you were shot in front of a pool table. I don't know if you remember that, or was it green screen?
Yeah.
That was an actual billiard table in the background.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it's one wing of Richard's house. He doesn't even remember that he has a pool table. But wow, right? And I found myself listening. You went out. You went away from your.
I cannot remember what I said.
That's the best part. You went out of your comfort zone.
I'm close to a lot of those are wonderful people who ran that.
Yeah.
I've got my wonderful friend Lori Wagner. I just adore her, and all the other folks who were doing executive producing. Like they're all wonderful. They were just great to work with.
Yeah, the film is excellent.
What did I talk about? I cannot remember.
You know what? But this is the thing, and everybody can watch the film, and it's going to premiere in the world premiere on Amazon on November 30th. But I'll just say this, Richard. I sat back and I was like, dude is making me proud right now. And these things, there wasn't any historical perspective on cases and this and that. No, it was about the emotional impact on what disclosure means. And you went right there, and I just sat back and went, I've never heard Richard speak this way. But the rest of the world, when they see this film, are going to hear this. And I'm man, it was just so strong. So kudos, man, kudos. And
thank you. Actually, I remember now sitting down for that. I do remember that moment. Thanks for bringing it back. Yeah, I got into some kind of reverie.
Yeah, you did. I was like, man, where was this on my show, Richard? Right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, man, this is gold. But anyway,
if I'm not mistaken, they use a theme of something. I'm a big fan. Used to read a lot of Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Emerson had a lot of great essays. He was a genius, and one was called Circles. And I remember talking about this with them, and they actually use this as a theme. So the idea of what Emerson was talking about with a circle is like, imagine all of your knowledge is contained within a circle, right? So the boundary of the circle is the boundary of what you know, and that's the boundary of the unknown. And the point that Emerson made that they liked, and I think they use this, was that the larger your circle becomes, like the more you know, the greater is the boundary of the unknown. That's one of the great mysteries.
It's so strong. It is so powerful. And again,
I'm being told that I'm using the wrong movie. Oops, I'm using the wrong analogy. Someone just
they haven't seen the film. But I can't wait for everybody to see this, and it is just so strong. Okay, so I think
this is what happens when you spring this on me, and I did not know where we were going to go because I couldn't remember that very well.
It was so
I'm glad
fun.
you liked me in it, though. I'm always glad about that.
It is just a strong film. And next week, we're going to do a deeper dive into the film. And I'm going to have some people on the show that are in the film that are going to be newly introduced to not only this audience, but the UFO community. It's really that strong. Okay. I believe it was last Monday. And I did a solo show here on Fade to Black. I didn't have a guest, and I did that for a reason. There were some things I wanted to get off my chest, and things. So I did this open, and Lou Elizondo calls in to the show, right? And he texted me during the show. He said, "Hey man, you want me to call in?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Okay, so after the break, he came on, just like you and I right now, totally. Just open conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And I went back to Lou, which is the question I'm going to throw out to you now. I went to Lou and I said, now, you've been making some statements about a 90-day cycle with the UAP task force to come back with updated information back to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and that we are on this 90-day timetable. Can you speak about that? Well, I'm going to throw that back to you, Richard. The anticipation of the UAP task force report back on June 25th was one thing, and certainly that pot came to a boil. Right? That was a lot of fun to go through. But if we're going to put this into a 90-day timetable, do you see that as a reality from the UAP task force, that we could expect updates on this subject every 90 days?
Yeah, it seems like a stretch to me. It seems like a lot, asking a lot from, like, who are the people putting this together? Was Elizondo going to be involved in the preparation of these reports? Apparently.
He didn't say anything specific like that. But would you? My thought is, would it be every 90 days another report like we got on June 25th, right? Without conclusions and without any specifics.
Analysis, there's nothing in there.
Right.
Like, from a scientific point of view, it was completely useless. Like, you can't, there's nothing for any analyst to grab onto in that slim little report. So, I mean, what they, the report was, It was interesting in one way. Like, you've got a statement from an official military agency that's saying these are things we don't know what these things are. It's like they made that admission. They didn't get into any details of any specific cases. There was no analysis. There's nothing. There was nothing, no specifics whatsoever. And by the way, 144 cases over 20 years is mighty slim pickings. Like, there's, in my own personal database, I'll guarantee you I've got more cases than that.
Yeah, no, you could have 144 incidences just with the Nimitz, probably, right? If you broke that down.
With the USS Roosevelt.
Yes.
You absolutely. The implication with that is that they had probably more than 200 incidents. The New York Times article that Leslie and Ralph did back in spring of 2019 stated that on a nearly daily basis for about 9 months, the USS Roosevelt off the eastern U.S. coast was having encounters with these UAP. So if you want to take that article at its word, you've got roughly 200 encounters for that alone. So you got this task force pulling out 144 cases over 20 years. Like, what's wrong with this picture? And then you've got all the cases off in 2019 that we learned about, the drone swarms, whatever those things were. If they're drones, they're mighty impressive drones, that's for sure. But whatever they are, like, those are genuine UAP. They should be in the report. They're not there. Where's the data coming from? They're clearly not able to get access to all the data that's there. So, a 90-day window, yeah, I think, look, maybe it's good to hold them to some accountability. Back in the days when we had Project Blue Book, back in the 50s and 60s, Blue Book was a joke as well. Let's not forget that. A lot of the investigations Blue Book did were sham investigations. And critics for years and years pointed out that Project Blue Book was really not an effort to explain. It was an effort to explain away. And it was a joke, but it was our joke. And by that, I simply mean taxpayers paid for that. And as bad as it was, Blue Book was quite valuable, actually, because it gave those critics who were skeptical of the U.S. Air Force's honesty on this, Blue Book gave them a wedge by which to kind of pry open this whole thing. Like, it's an official government agency that is supposed to be responsible to the people. And the same thing would apply to this UAP task force. Like, can we really expect this task force to do a truly excellent job at analyzing UAP or UFOs? Probably not. Like, they haven't shown it yet. But I would still argue it's good to have it. It's better to have it than not to have it. As bad as it probably job it will do, it's an official government body that the public, the engaged public, can at least go after and use to leverage better investigations. Now, let's not forget a few things. This is the new Blue Book. And as such, that means the real investigations and the real UFO data is going to be elsewhere. So, let's not forget that. But the fact that it exists, hey, a few years ago, we didn't have anything. And we were in a complete, ground zero of denial. So we're not there yet. We're not in that level of denial anymore. So that's a good thing. We still have a long, 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 long way to go.
What do you think the reasons are? Suddenly we don't have Nick Pope or Lou or Chris Mellon or others in the national news every single night, or not even once a week. It seems that suddenly the media has changed direction with the boat. And it seemed pretty quick after June 25th. Everything just...
Well, I think most of the media has really never been all that friendly to this subject anyway. Like, we got into our heads, oh, the New York Times covered it. That psyched you and me out. Like, when that first happened in 2017, we both were like, what the hell is this all about? But I think what all that happened is that a very few very dedicated journalists, namely Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, were able, along with their allies in TTSA, that everyone loves to malign, and their allies, like people like George Knapp, and in the mainstream, people like Tucker Carlson, like, you got to give this guy some credit. So there were some mainstream allied voices that were willing to get this out there. The only reason the New York Times covered this at all, in my opinion now, is because Leslie and Ralph basically convinced them that this was a good thing to do, mainly because the TTSA press conference had already happened. Like, the ATIP program was going to come out. I don't think there was any way. Once Elizondo jumped in and joined them, this was going to happen. And so you could see the New York Times leadership saying, all right, well, we'll get out in front of this and we'll do this. When the New York Times has done UFO articles without Leslie and Ralph, they've gone right back to their normal, mediocre, crappy level. So they show me that they are, as an institution, not at all committed, actually, to opening this up. It's really Leslie and Ralph.
But what about Fox and MSNBC and the BBC and CNN?
Well, how good has their coverage really been when you get down to it? The Fox has only been okay because of one guy, that's Carlson. He's really the only one. CNN they've been totally mediocre on this. They've not shown anything really. None of the other major networks have really shown a whole lot. A little bit here and there, it's true. But all I'm saying is that there's not this coordinated media effort to promote the UFO subject or the UAP subject. It's just not there. And I believe that we can expect more of that, like of this non-interest. Because in my view, I've maintained this, and I'm going to continue to maintain this until I'm proven wrong, which is that we are in an era now. I talked about totalitarianism at the start of this program with you. I firmly believe we're looking at a global movement here where the walls are closing in. Now, and what that means is UFO disclosure, like real disclosure, not this pretend stuff like, oh, gee, maybe there's something out there, but like the real deal. So the real deal, when you get into conspiracy and cover-up, because you cannot get into the serious matter without getting into the fact that we've been lied to for an entire human lifetime. That's a cover-up. And that's the red line. Because we're now in an era where you and no one listening is allowed to believe in conspiracy theories ever again. That's considered wrong now. Bad conspiracy theories. You can't believe in it. UFO conspiracy, I've got news for everyone. That's the mother of all conspiracy theories. There's nothing bigger. How is it really going to be? Can you imagine? All right, this is a subject that's got serious national security implications. We can all see that. So you've got a government that says, don't believe in conspiracy theories. Well, except this one, the UFO, the biggest one is true. Like, that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. And we have a completely controlled media. The media exists for one reason. It is to keep the public pacified and controlled. That's what the legacy media does. It doesn't do to the extent that it does anything other than that is the exception, not the rule. And it is true that there are sometimes exceptions, sometimes. By and large, you're dealing with a very controlled system here.
Do you feel that?
So I just don't see the disclosure narrative going any farther, and I think it's got to be pulled back.
Well, and to your point, do you think that the UFO community got a little bit relaxed and a little too comfortable allowing, like, Tucker Carlson to push this, where now if that is not happening in the rest of the media, that it falls right back on the shoulders of the UFO community and people like you and myself to continue to push this forward? We can't get comfortable thinking that somebody else is going to do this for us.
Right. That's true. That's right. That's right. Now we want it's good to have allies in there. Like when Carlson interviewed Lou Elizondo a couple of years ago, like they actually talked about crash retrievals of UFO. That was an amazing moment. That was May 31st, 2019. It's a hell of an interview. 5 minutes, but it went a long way. It was shocking. So we want more of those kinds of conversations in that venue. But you are right. Like, we can't depend on that structure to push this forward. We're dealing with a hostile structure.
Yes.
By and large. And it is not a structure that is for the people. And it is a structure that has been in bed with the intelligence community since forever. It's the structure that, people still need to know what Operation Mockingbird was, which was CIA infiltration of mainstream media for decades. That did not end. It's worse now than it was then. This is not the fact that we use phrases like conspiracy theory almost makes me crazy. It's like, that's a smear. Why call it a conspiracy? Why not just call it a theory? Why not just call it an idea? But no, they have to call it a conspiracy theory because the whole thing is to smear. It's to disable. It's to kneecap an idea so that it doesn't get traction. It's a nasty tactic. And these people in the mainstream, they use it all the time as if they know what they're talking about, and they do not. But anyways, the mainstream is not our friend. It's a control system. And we, the people, like we got to form our own completely independent culture, totally independent of this mainstream establishment, because that's just one big mind control system. And going against it is not easy. It's difficult. We're all plugged into the matrix to one extent or another. Like, how do you get out? Everyone's got a cell phone. Everyone's tracked. Everyone's bombarded by the propaganda every damn day. So we've got to figure out a way to create an independent culture, one that is not dominated and controlled by the intelligence community and the media complex that basically is trying to tell us what to think every day of the week.
And
you can tell I'm tired of this stuff.
This is the thing, though. And I'm talking about the UFO community and the researchers and the authors and those that have spoken about their own experiences. We fought the man and fought the system forever. That's what we did. And I just feel that we've got to continue. We've got to go back to the way we used to think about this, which was us against the system. And your point is loud and clear. The system is not your friend. And I think that we enjoyed the moment, since December of 2017, but complacency set in. Like suddenly,
I'm going to bring this back to the Davis notes again. One more thing, because the one of the key things that comes out of those notes is the criminal nature of the cover-up. All right, like it's you have Wilson in that. Like, Wilson's not the bad guy in this. Wilson wanted to get at least access to this truth, and he fought and he got knocked down, and he was threatened with his career. And this is a guy, and Greer was right. Greer goes in there and he's saying, these programs are out of government control. Forget Congress. He's talking like the military can't even control this stuff. And he was right. Like, this is a serious problem. People want to bitch about Stephen Greer, but like, look, in 1997, he was right on. He was correct in his assessment here. And we were talking about it. He was on the fact that this is an out of control system, and those notes reflect that. They reflect essentially what those notes reflect is the death of the American Republic, if you really want to get into it. It talks about how this is a runaway system of privatized secrecy. And by the way, they're talking about the possession of an intact flying saucer. What is more important to the advancement of our knowledge than the analysis of that thing? And we don't have any access to it. We're looking at UFO videos, and we get these UFO stories here and there. There's a damn saucer, probably multiple ones, that are being held right now. All right? And we're just like twiddling our thumbs, la-di-da, like probably Lockheed's got it, maybe Northrop Grumman, they've got these things. And the amount of knowledge in that, I mean, it's astronomical. And the bodies, or the knowledge of the bodies, the biology, like, this is critical stuff. And it has been held from us for an entire human lifetime. And it's just time to end this. It's an insult to our society, to us as human beings, as American citizens, as world citizens, as people who believe in freedom and transparency of their government. Like, it's an insult to all of that. And that's one of many reasons why those notes by Eric Davis are so damned important. Like, they highlight the destruction of our society when you get right down to it.
Let me ask you this:
the wheels have spun off the machine, and we're not controlling it.
And certainly, if I was the leader of a country like the United States, do I lie about this? Do I keep this stuff secret, forever? And I would say that there's a lot to support that point of view. But let's spin this around. You've studied government and history. Do you honestly think that Putin, if we came out with all of this, that Putin, his position would go ahead, you do it. I'm not revealing what we've got. There's just no way. We're going to keep our stuff to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Putin and Xi Jinping as well of China.
Right.
Like there's kind of an undeclared war obviously going on between the United States and each of those countries in their own way. There's levels of cooperation, but there's a lot of hostility. But on this matter of UAP, UFOs, alien beings, no, these are fundamentally very conservative structured, all of them. The U.S. structure, well, the U.S. structure is probably the most radical of all right now, actually, because it's implementing a global revolution. But no, Putin's fundamentally, he's all about conserving Russia. He's a classic Russian nationalist. That's what he is. And so what he doesn't want is to upset the apple cart. This is a very disruptive truth. It's absolutely the case. Like the UFO, this is why Bryce and I did AD After Disclosure. Like we recognize this is a revolutionary subject, and it is a scary subject. It is not difficult to see why secrecy began on this. The problem is, what do we hold dear as a society? Do we or do we not believe in accountability by our government to the people? Are we going to just give that up or not? Now, there are people in this world today that do want to give it up. They don't care about freedom anymore. That's obvious when you look around. But some of us do care. And if you believe in the idea of a government that is responsive to its citizens to some degree, like, yes, governments have to have secrets. Okay, fine, we get that. But like how far does this go? How far are we supposed to get pushed? And like every year it just gets worse. And now we're into this cover-up that's going on for like almost 80 years practically.
Mm-hmm.
How long is this supposed to go?
Mm-hmm.
It has undermined all of our institutions because to keep this thing going, you've had to manipulate the media. Okay, so that's been compromised. The academic world, compromised. The political community, compromised. Your budgetary authority of Congress, totally compromised because you got black budgets that they don't know what the hell they're voting on. They don't have access to any of this information. You have a system of legal illegality that has been put into place, in part, not totally to protect the secret, but in part to protect this secret. And there's other things going on too. It's all one big happy criminal family here.
Mm-hmm.
But the UFO secret has corroded the foundations of what was supposed to be and what once was a free society. And we are corroding it. Every year it gets worse. And the secrecy on this subject is not helping. It's hurting. And we've got to make some decisions here as people and as citizens. Like, what the hell do we believe in? Are we just going to crawl up into a fetal position for the rest of our lives and scream, don't hurt me, protect me, save me? Are we going to stand up and are we going to act like free citizens again? That used to be the case. So one of the things is, look, I don't want to be lied to anymore. I don't want to be treated like I'm 5 years old. I'm pissed off about it. And yes, this is a serious problem with serious repercussions, and it could be dangerous. There may be bad things that come out in this. Well, how long is this going to be hidden from us? Like, it can't be hidden forever. It's impossible to hide this forever. So, all that I see is like the longer this goes and is hidden from us, the weaker we become, the more greater denial we live, and the more psychological damage we do to ourselves. And we've got to decide, like, we just got to stop this. Now, how to stop it, that's the great question. Like, I've been thinking about this for over 20 years. I haven't figured it out. Like, this cover-up is deep and buried within private organizations. But Davis's notes, this is another thing. Like, he gives a little bit of a roadmap here. A little bit of a roadmap. There's a bureaucratic trail of breadcrumbs here that exists in that document that shows just in part how deep this stuff goes. So We need to be working together on these matters rather than just tearing each other down with like, oh, this is a hoax. It's not a hoax.
Richard bleepin' Dolan. Thank you so much, my friend. And again, it is richarddolanmembers.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. We are in danger of getting cut off by the network. So I'm just going to say, Richard, great conversation, my friend. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Jimmy, as always.
Richard,
my best, Mr. Greenwald.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all in this together. We're all chasing the same thing. Richard, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night, my friend.
Thank you.
Richard Dolan. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Richard, stay right there. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. It is time to fade to black.